Hey, how's it going, guys? Amon Reverse 21 here, and back again with yet another deck profile for you all. So, of course, the deck I have to present to you guys is my long-awaited and well-anticipated Amon Reverse deck. Of course, it is going to be utilizing the new support cards for DIs post set 12. Finally, you know, Dark Irregulars finally get some nice official support. Definitely. Dark Irregulars in general has received some pretty good improvements overall. I still do feel that, you know, Dark Irregulars are still missing a few things just to really make them that definite competitive tier deck, you know, like Revengers and Link Jokers and such. But for really what Dark Irregulars received, definitely like the improvements to the deck, definitely like the feel of the deck, and definitely it addressed some issues that DIs had before, which you know, I'll go over as I go through the profile for you guys. So yeah, without further ado, let's actually get to it. So first off, for the starter, I am running Devil in Shadow. Devil in Shadow is just your basic grade 3 searcher. Counterblast 1, put him in Soul, and check the top 5 for grade 3, add it to hand. Now, there's definitely some different options you can use to starter. There is the new Amon's Follower one, where when it boosts any Dark Irregular unit, and you have 6 or more cards in Soul, you can put them in Soul to draw a card. I just found Devil in Shadow a lot more consistently reliable. Just to, you know, obviously it helps you to prevent misgrading, but just to make sure you get your cross ride off consistently, which is very, very important in this deck, to make sure you get a cross ride going. So it's a really good consistent card. Greedy Hand is probably the more ideal starter to run, but it mainly does depend on the exact build you're doing, and with this particular build and my particular card choices, Greedy Hand doesn't necessarily fit, which it'll be pretty obvious once you actually see my card choices in the deck. But as of right now, Devil in Shadow, really, really good solid card for the deck. Another thing to mention too, I mean, although he has 4K power, and sometimes you may not even need him, like if you already have like the necessary grade 3s in hand. I mean, what's nice with DIs in this particular deck is there's really no such thing as having a dead card on the field. I mean, you can always just lock it for Amon Reverse's skill, or you can just, like, you know, sacrifice it to Amon. So that's really a nice thing with DIs, is there's really no such thing as having a dead card on your field. So Devil in Shadow, definitely I think the best option for this particular build I'm doing. And for grade 3s, I am having the 4 copies of Amon Reverse, or Treant Amon, like to call me, or friends like to call him, because I don't know why he looks like a tree, but yeah. So 4 of those, and 3 regular Amon. Now, a couple things to mention, of course. First off, for this particular build, I'm not playing the Dantarian, which is the break ride for Dark Irregulars. There's a couple things that I kind of initially had issues with Dantarian at first, which is, one, Dantarian is actually not an Amon's Follower, and let me actually take one out so you guys have some visual of him. But yeah, but one, Dantarian is not a Amon's Follower, which I found very disappointing because, you know, if all the other top tier decks like Revengers and Link Jokers and Eradicators get their own Legion-based break ride, why can't DIs? But whatever, that's beyond the point. But yeah, he's not Amon's Follower, so there can be some consistency issues with taking advantage of all the Amon's Follower support. And 2, I mean, Dantarian, if you guys don't know what he does, he pretty much is a Ganslot. When you ride a great Dark Irregular on top of him, give 3 units Amon's ability. So they gain plus 1,000 for every card in the Soul to end a turn, which is, I mean, it's really nice. And, you know, it's very fantastic to hit those really big numbers. And, you know, you can, there's really nothing wrong with playing Dantarian in the deck in general. I decided not to, just because, especially with my locals, you know, if you look at the more popular decks like Revengers, Link Jokers, Eradicators, Kagero, and such, you know, they're all such terrible matchups for DIs. And what they all have in common is they have ways to disrupt your field. Thus, you know, you're not going to really get as much opportunities to take full advantage of Dantarian as much as possible. That's one issue that Liberator Ganslot has in the meta that we're in right now, which is why, you know, I feel Ganslot is just not going to go really well, you know, going forward. So it's kind of the same idea with Dantarian. So that's why I'm not including him in the deck. So I'm just going to go for more of a general cross ride build. So Amon Reverse, what he does, if you don't know, is Lone Break 4. When you pay the cost of locking any one Dark Irregular on your field, and then he becomes pretty much the original Amon, gains 1,000 for every card in Soul. Difference is, of course, is if you have 6 or more cards in Soul, he does gain the extra crit. And he's a cross ride, obviously, if you're Amon Soul, gets plus 2,000. So a couple things is, one, DIs finally have a nice cross ride, so they now have a nice good defense based power, which is something that, you know, they had really trouble with, you know, because while Dark Lord of Abyss was an 11k base Vanguard, I mean, Amon is really the best Dark Irregular boss at the time, and he probably still is, arguably, but he's a 10k base power, which can really get abused a lot nowadays in the meta. And one thing that a Dark Irregulars has a lot of problems with, which, you know, it's still kind of like a continuing problem, is maintaining card advantage. So having a nice 13k body really helps to try to conserve as much shield as possible. And also too, although you have to wait till Limit Break to essentially become an Amon, the fact is that he gains an extra crit. Definitely creates a different type of playstyle for the deck and different approach. Because like I said, against those top tier decks like I mentioned, they all can pose a really bad matchup for DIs. So the whole idea with the deck is try to get into that cross ride to get that 13k body, and then you essentially pressure your opponent when they're at 3 damage to kind of, you know, shy them away from trying to get Limit Break for a little bit. Try to force out early perfect guards, early heavy guarding as well. To kind of, you know, like I said, check your opponent to keep them from Limit Break with that extra crit. So that extra crit can definitely make a difference. Even if your opponent's at 4 damage, dealing with that extra crit could still be very annoying. Because originally with regular Amon, even if you're throwing like, you know, 30,000 at your opponent and they're at 4 damage, if they don't have a perfect guard, they usually will just no guard you anyway. So having that extra crit forces your opponent to guard it pretty much at all times. So that's definitely a nice little improvement that DIs have received, especially with their bosses. So it's really nice. So just a nice, good, consistent boss lineup. So like you said, 3 Amons is still fine. I didn't like 4 just because I really hate the 10k body. And with Devil and Shadow, I mean, it helps you just to help hit your cross rides consistently. And I mean, I've soul charged a regular Amon multiple times, multiple occasions as well. So definitely like this lineup for grade 3s. Moving on to grade 2s. Sorry, just checking my lighting real quick. So moving on to grade 2s, you have your 4, I'm really bad at pronouncing names, Ron Jeanlin. I'm going to call him Ron. 4 copies of Ron. It's just a 12k attacker when you have an Amon as Vanguard. Well, Vanguard with Amon is part of his name, so 12k attacker. Finally, DIs get a 12k attacker, so it's good. And what's nice, you know, put him in front of Devil and Shadow, hits for 16, which is still a really good number. And then you have 4 copies of Hell's Draw. Finally, DIs get another Succubus to the lineup, but kind of disappointing though that they kind of look like lollies. I don't know, that's just me. I kind of miss Flirty Succubus, but yeah, Hell's Draw, just when you place her on Rearguard Circle, not Vanguard, but Rearguard Circle, you have a Vanguard with Amon's name, you Soul Charge 2. I was a little disappointed that it doesn't work in Vanguard, but I mean, hey, double Soul Charge is pretty powerful in the deck, but I kind of just wish that she can just work in Vanguard as well, because like I said, DIs is already struggling to be that top tier competitive deck, so might as well just let them, you know, why not just let them have all the icing on the cake. But yeah, it's a really good solid card, and combos really well with one of my favorite cards in the deck, which you guys probably should know. And last but not least, one of my favorite cards in the grade 2 lineup is Gwynn The Ripper. So Gwynn The Ripper actually is kind of funny because a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people don't even remember this card. He was actually the face card of set 3. And he's just your Berserk Dragon clone. When he's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, Counterblast 2, and you can retire a grade 2 or less. What's nice with Gwynn now is, well, one thing I forgot to mention with him on Reverse is that, well, he doesn't use any Counterblast. And virtually, you know, outside the starter, maybe regular Amon, this deck doesn't really use Counterblast, so you know, I've always liked Gwynn The Ripper, but the problem is, you know, before with the previous boss cards such as Dark Lord of Abyss and such that I did run in my DI deck, I didn't have the flexibility in Counterblast as I did before as compared to now. So now they have a lot of room and easier management of your Counterblast. Running 4 Gwynn is really amazing. It's just really nice to draw him early, to be very impactful in the early stages of the game when your opponent's trying to assemble a field on you. But most importantly, since you're really focused on trying to sit on a 13k body, just kind of the same strategy as with Kagura with the N. It's just very important to try and snipe out any key boosters that can really threaten your defensive body. So really good. So really loving this card in the deck. So yeah, 12 grade 2s. And then, sorry guys, next you have grade 1s, you have your 4 perfects. It honestly doesn't matter whether it's the the Amon's Follower or March Rabbits. So I mean, you can honestly save yourself 20 bucks because Amon Reverse can lock any Dark Irregular. So I honestly, I mean, the only reason why you may want to run these is because they're not as thick as the March Rabbits, so they don't like stick together as much. Because I felt like with March Rabbits, I was like soul charging them a lot more, and I kept drawing into them a lot more in bunches. So I feel like, as weird as it sounds, I feel like the rarity stack feels a lot better with the Light Specula. Plus, maybe you want to, you know, drop the a Hell's Deal turn 2. You know, if you want to ride this first and drop Hell's Deal, you have the option to do that. But I mean, if you have just March Rabbits, I mean, it's perfectly fine too. And speaking of Hell's Deal, you have 4 copies of Hell's Deal, same clone as the other. It's Hell's Draw. Just call it Rear Circle. You have another Amon Vanguard, so double soul charge. So the 7K booster, double soul charge. And then 4 copies of course, one of my absolute favorite cards in the game, and I cannot imagine myself playing DIs without this card, is Doreen The Thruster. You guys already know, I mean, she went up in price too, which is surprising to me. You know, I was really glad I had these for a while. You know, I remember picking these up for like $2, but yeah, obviously you combo her with the new Hell's Deals or Hell's Draw. You can put her in the same column as a Hell's Draw right here. And you get instantly hit for 21. And obviously, you know, obviously, you know, with Dark Irregulars, you can even go beyond that, make some big pushes late game. So it's really good. Doreen, you know, preferably, you usually want to put Doreen behind the rear guards, just because obviously your opponent's already dealing with usually a big-bodied Vanguard offensively. So then dealing with the rear guards pumped by a massively soul-charged Doreen is good. But a lot of times, you know, I usually find myself, if I'm keeping my opponent at 3 damage, pressuring with my crit, I just put Doreen behind my Vanguard and then just swing for big numbers, because once you catch your opponent without that perfect guard in hand, they're going to be dropping a lot of shield. And once you see your opponent's dropping a lot of shield, you already know they don't have a perfect guard. So once you read that, then you can just start pushing with Doreen in your middle Vanguard column. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, you know, when you're playing with the deck. And yeah, so last for the grade 1s, you have your 2 Yellow Bolts. Yellow Bolt's really good card in the deck, just because he's a good lock target for Amon Reverse, simply because, you know, obviously you can rest him, soul charge, and then just lock him. So it's definitely good for that. He's definitely good to draw early game as well, because one thing this deck can suffer is, you know, if you don't draw any of your Hell's Deal or Hell's Draw early enough, and you already reach your limit break, you may be short on maybe, sometimes you will be short a little bit on your soul to hit that 6 soul, as surprising that may sound. So Yellow Bolt's really good to draw early, get some early soul charges in, and like I said, another good lock target, and he obviously enables Doreen as well, so it's really good. Dimension Creeper is another good option to play in the deck, but as you see, I'm not playing Dimension Creeper for multiple reasons. I mean, there's definitely a lot of few tech options you can go with, such as replacing Yellow Bolts, putting D Creepers, and then have Greedy Hands your starter. But I just like the Yellow Bolt, just because there are times, you know, I was testing with D Creepers where if you draw the D Creeper, unless you're sitting on a regular Amon Vanguard, he could essentially be dead. Because if you don't have regular Amon as your Vanguard and you just draw your D Creepers, he's just kind of dead on your field. And obviously you want him in the soul. And I mean, it's not the end of the world if you draw into them, but I'd rather just, you know, have the Yellow Bolt, because he's always going to be consistently reliable for you. So there's definitely a lot of testing that you can go around. And knowing me, I'm probably just going to flip-flop between a few things. But right now, I'm really liking the Yellow Bolts in the deck. And then last but not least, I have my trigger lineup. You have your 4 Dark Knight and Nightmare Land. So I'm making it 4 of those. 2 Blitz Raider and 2 Amon's Follower Cruel Hand. Or Boosted Gear, if you guys know the reference. But yeah, so 8 crit. And I was originally running 12 crit, but then I decided to actually just put the Shirleys back in. Shirleys are just too good. I miss playing the Shirleys. Because like I said, sometimes the deck can struggle with hitting that 6 soul, the 6 soul at times if you don't draw those key cards. So having the Shirley could definitely be very clutch for you, and obviously it combos really well with Doreen. So you know, I definitely, when I was testing out with 12 crits, I just missed playing the Shirley, so I just threw them back in. And then you have 4 Lolly heals. I guess I like these better than Chester Cat, but like I said, I'm a little disappointed that the new Succubuses, artwork-wise, are Lollies. I don't know, I'm not a Lolly guy, as you guys know. So yeah, so that overall, guys, is my deck profile for Amon Reverse. Really liking the deck. The deck runs still pretty solid, but like I said, you know, the deck still has its struggles against the more competitive decks. So hopefully Dark Irregulars will probably get some more better future support just to help address some more issues with them. But yeah, as always guys, leave a comment down below with any questions, concerns and such. And I may possibly have some updates going with this deck. Maybe actually playing the Dantarian and such like that. Because like I said, you know, Dark Irregulars being one of my favorite clans, I'm always going to be trying out different options and such. So there's definitely a lot of good options you can go about with this deck. So yeah. Once again guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like for this video. As always, that's always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you hadn't. Well, on that guys, I will see you guys next time. Later.